There's been a lot going on with the Rays of late, but nothing that interesting. I think we'll wait a little later in the podcast. They're headed to the West Coast, and thank God. A very short trip, change the laundry, wash some clothes, and lose a series to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I was at the game on Friday night. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But first, let's start with the Bucs. Okay, we have football this week on Thursday return. They got joint practice with the Tennessee Titans, and then Saturday is the first preseason game at Raymond James Stadium against the Titans. So we'll look forward to that. Last week, since we last spoke, Steve, one Baker Mayfield unable to practice for 2 days over the weekend. He apparently sometime around Thursday, I believe, was out there and throwing in practice and struck his hand on a shoulder pad of a defender. And so he has what they are calling a hand contusion, right hand contusion, his throwing hand. And then so they gave him not 1 but 2 days off of practice. And then, of course, they didn't have practice on Sunday. They won't have practice today either. And they'll get ready to prepare for the Tennessee Titans. But I'll tell you, it's an eye-opening situation, when you see a starting quarterback not working. And there's several of them around the league, including Matthew Stafford with the Rams right now, that is not practicing. But it just drives home the point that even in a controlled, sort of environment like they have, where you're not allowed to hit the quarterback, and in this case, I guess the rush got pushed into him when he was following through. But it doesn't take much, to torpedo your season or set your quarterback back or a significant player at some point. And Baker's been as durable as anybody since he's been in Tampa. But right away you got to see one Kyle Trask, and I'm in the minority. I know I am, and I know that Todd Bowles does not agree with me. But it hammered home for me, like, they keep talking and talking, and we love it that they're talking, as if this team this year is poised to win a Super Bowl, not compete for a Super Bowl, not just win the division, but actually win a Super Bowl. That's always the goal of every team. But in their instance, they're pretty resolute about the fact that they have the pieces. They have the pieces, and they need a little bit of luck. But man, if that's the case, it just shows you the fragility of the sport and of that position. And your backup quarterback is Kyle Trask, which I know Gator fans love. Todd Bowles absolutely loves. But the fact of the matter is, he's not played. He's not played. That doesn't mean he can't play. From what I see in training camp over the years, I don't think he completes a high enough volume of passes, especially when they can't rush the quarterback, when they can't sack the quarterback. Did he make some plays out there? He has. Is it, to the level I think that you need to win in the National Football League? I'm not sure, but I do know this. Every other significant team that's a legit Super Bowl contender seems to have at least a player at quarterback who has been in the fire. You're not going to be guessing what you're going to get on Sunday if he has to play one game or if he has to start 2 or 3 games. And I just think with Trask, it's so purely a projection. No fault of his own necessarily. He sat behind Tom Brady. He had a chance to beat out Baker Mayfield and did not. And then as a free agent, he could have chosen any number of the 31 other teams, but agreed to come back to Tampa. Maybe he had other offers. Maybe he didn't. But in any case, he's their guy, and it was driven home. Like, the Bucs are a much, much different team as most teams would be without their starting quarterback. But this is a guy, there's as much unknown about him, Steve, as any backup in the league.
Well, you always put it this way. If your backup quarterback has to come in for 1 game, you hope that he can win you a game.
Yeah.
Or if you have to come in for 3 games, you hope he can win you a game. Your backup's not going to go undefeated typically.
No.
So do you have confidence that Kyle Trask could come in and win a game for you if Baker Mayfield missed a game?
Yeah.
And the honest truth is, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Fans can say yes or no.
Right.
But the honest truth is, we haven't seen enough out of him to know.
No.
Because he hasn't played really in the regular season.
Mm-mm.
Now, you see what you see in training camp, and it hasn't looked great.
Right.
Preseason games have been okay.
They've been okay.
Some good plays, some bad plays. But that's what a young quarterback that doesn't have a lot of experience, you expect that in preseason games.
Sure.
So, it's not saying he's good or bad, just you're expecting it's going to be a yo-yo and a roller coaster because he doesn't have the experience.
Right.
So look, the backup quarterback is kind of like the backup goalie in hockey. Like, you're not going to use them a lot. You hope you don't. I mean, in hockey, you're going to use them some.
You hope you don't have to start them like a bunch of games in a row. Yeah.
You're hoping the NFL you don't have to use them.
Yeah.
But you don't want to waste a ton of money on that in a salary cap because otherwise that's less people you have elsewhere. You're hoping to never play your backup quarterback.
Right.
But you probably want a backup quarterback that you definitely want a backup quarterback you have confidence in. Now, Todd Bowles says he does have confidence in Kyle Trask.
He says he does.
Whether he's putting on a good face or just trying to pump him up or whatever. I mean, hopefully you don't have to find out this season, but you might. I mean, most quarterbacks don't go all season without missing a game.
No, they don't.
A handful do. But the majority of teams have to use a backup quarterback at least once a season.
Yeah. Yeah, and just if you look around the league, I mean, the teams that are contenders in particular have guys that have at least been in the fire. Mitch Trubisky backs up Josh Allen. Now, if Buffalo loses Josh Allen, it's very unlikely that they're going to win many games, right? Like with any good team.
No,
but
if you miss a game or two is what you're hoping.
If you have to start him, he's been there before, Mitch Trubisky had a couple really good starts, a couple seasons in Chicago where he was their starter. I watched him beat Tom Brady, in Tom's Super Bowl year in Chicago when he forgot how many downs there were. But I saw Mitch Trubisky throw 6 touchdown passes or 5 touchdown passes one time against Jameis Winston, and so, it's a guy that's been in the fire. Who is it in San Francisco? We just mentioned that came from New England, Alabama quarterback.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones is now there. Mac Jones, quarterback 2 whole seasons as a starter with the Patriots. His rookie season was pretty damn good. Almost beat Tom Brady. Came down to a last minute field goal in Tom's return to New England. So, like, that's the thing. That's the one, like, structural thing. And I know. There's a lot of Gator fans, and that's great. And listen, Kyle is, a 10 on the character scale, right? He's an 11 when it comes to work ethic. The dude, they say first one in, last one out. That's Trask. I mean, he is out there. He's worked on his body. He's worked on his game. He's had a number of offensive coordinators, like everybody has, especially Baker Mayfield. So he has put in the time and the effort. Here's what's unusual is that having been stuck behind Brady and then Baker Mayfield, and knowing that you're not going to beat out Baker, you had your chance when he came here, perhaps. He still chose to re-sign with the Bucs, or rather, the Bucs chose to re-sign him. Okay. So I don't know whether offers he had, but if I see that they just did a 3-year, $100 million deal with Baker, maybe if I want to be a starter in this league, I'm going to go somewhere and find a more wobbly guy, but he chose to stay, and they like him that much that they brought him back. But when you see the quarterback not practicing, and again, this is not a long-term injury. Bowles said that he will be back this week at practice. I don't know which day. Like I said, they got the Titans coming in to do a joint scrimmage, but it just hammers home the point that, like, every single day, when we sit and talk to these players after practice, they're all saying the same thing. We we'd be really disappointed. We don't make a run at this. We're really disappointed we didn't get the Super Bowl. Like, we think we could have the best offense in the league. I've heard that a few times. It's up to us. The sky's the limit. And having said all that, nobody is okay if they lose their starting quarterback, but many teams are more okay. And the common denominator is those other teams, those contending teams, have quarterbacks who have played. Again, is it Kyle's fault? No, but you can't give him the experience until he has to go in the fire. It's a big risk in some respects, but then he's been in the system. He's been in the same system. He knows the players. When Kyle Trask plays, however, except for these last two practices, he's not throwing to Mike Evans. He's not throwing to Jalen McMillan or Emeka Ibuka. He's been taking the second team reps. Now, these last two practices, he's gotten time with those guys. And, he's made some plays. And Bucky Irving had a hell of a catch down the field, and Mike Evans. And, but he's also missed a lot of meaty U throws, and had to dirt the ball a few times. Many times he may have been sacked, no fault of his own. But he hasn't been perfect by any means. And, the fact of the matter is, when, and I've asked Todd this very way, I said, when you lay your head on the pillow on Saturday night in Atlanta or someplace and you have to win the game and you don't have Baker Mayfield, how are you sleeping? He goes, I'll sleep just fine. I think he'll play great. Not real sure about that one. Not real sure about that one. For Bucs fans, let's hope you don't have to endure that. But and for Kyle Trask fans, you probably think I'm crazy. And Kyle was a guy that, a lot of people liked, including Tampa Bay, who took him early in the second round, I believe. But, Baker will be back. That's the good news. Those guys are, doing okay on offense. I still think the defense is winning the preseason, which may or may not be, or the training camp, which may or may not be a big headline right now. But they're much better on defense, I think, number one. And number two, it's always a little harder to execute on offense. Defense can run and fly around, do stuff, but the offense can't. And, I'm a bit interested too, in sort of what changes they're going to make schematically, even though it's the same system, right? But Josh Grizzard is a different guy. He's never called plays before. He's had some call-it periods against Todd Bowles. And from what I've watched, Todd Bowles, maybe as expected, and the defense has gotten the better of him. They really have. What I'm seeing, to be completely honest with you, what I'm seeing are principles of the same offense we saw last year, okay? But it looks a lot like Mike McDaniel's offense in Miami, to be honest. I'm seeing, and they talked about throwing the ball down the field, although they haven't done it very much. Man, seeing a ton of motion, ton of guys moving, a lot of short passes, right, with guys in stride, make them miss, that sort of thing, which is what you want to do. But the Bucs kind of misplaced the bomb last year. They didn't have many balls in the air that long down the field, and they've said that they'd like to improve that. But then, you have to be committed to calling it. There hasn't been many biscuits around since Bruce Arians left. You know what I mean? Like they're a much more rhythm passing team than they are a down the field team.
Well, and maybe that's why the defense is dominating the offense too. They're trying new things.
Could be.
They're working this out.
Yeah.
It is a slight change from last year. They know the stuff they did last year they can do. So maybe that's part of – that's why you can't always overreact to something in training camp.
Right.
Because if they're actually just trying to work through this and figure out how we're going to put the ball downfield more, and they're taking more chances in training camp, because that's when you do this, then that could be part of why the defense has kind of dominated so far. And that's the stuff that you don't know, other media members there don't know, the fans don't. You don't know.
You don't know what was called. You don't know if it's scripted. You don't know if it's a call-it period all the time. We're right. We don't know what we don't know. We do see the ball in the air. We see it headed towards a receiver, and then we see whether or not the play is made on the back end. And they are making a lot more plays. They're a better team. Look, they just have more talent, better players on the back end. There's some real competition going on at every position back there. I did a story on Jamel Dean, who is well aware that he said, I've got to be more productive. And he's got guys pushing him, hard from the draft. Jacob Parrish is a really good player. Benjamin Morrison could start for most teams in this league. You still have Zion McKellum on the other side, and Drew Rosenhaus was in the building last week. I think it was Thursday or Friday. He's looking for a new deal right now because he's going to be a free agent. So in the next couple of weeks, you could see Rosenhaus making a proposal that maybe the Bucs take the bait and sign him to an extension before the season begins. But they've got a lot of corners, and that's making it life tough on Baker and making life tough on Kyle Trask, I'm sure. They've talked about bringing in another quarterback. And it's as much for, just to get through training camp as anything, because if you only got 2 healthy ones, they're taking all the reps. It's good to have at least 3 or 4. And we'll see how long, if Baker's going to continue to be out. Like, obviously, Bowles said he'd be back this week. I assume that means, when they return to practice. But if not, what's out there? And there's not a lot. There's not a lot. I could see a situation. I don't think it'll happen, but I could see a situation where you get to right before the season, when everybody cuts their roster down a week before the season to 53, and say you're the Cleveland Browns with 4 quarterbacks, and you don't want to carry more than 3, or maybe 2 and 1 on the practice squad. You could have some good quarterbacks out there, and even some that have played, that could be available. Maybe the Bucs take a bite, maybe they don't. I think they want Trask. I think they're comfortable with him, knows the system and all of that sort of stuff, but it's not inconceivable.
I think that could be the case for that. I think it would also be the case for a left tackle.
Absolutely.
With Wirfs missing at least a couple games, maybe more.
Yep.
Like, they may see who's out there as training camp winds down and teams make cuts, whether for they had someone better or just for salary cap relief or whatever.
Yep.
Like, I could see the Bucs adding several players.
Charlie Heck
in training camp
has been their left tackle since Tristan went down. Charlie Heck is getting all the reps with the first team offensive line at left tackle, and Charlie Heck is not anything close to what they had in Tristan, and that's not a knock on him necessarily, but he gets beat. He gets up pressures, and I wrote a story about Josh Grizzard about how, welcome to offensive coordinator in the NFL, because what you thought you had, you don't. Now you got to go about problem solving. Now it's about sort of what they had to do when only worse. What was it, week 2? You lose your right tackle, and all of a sudden you're playing, Justin Scully, and Aiden Hutchinson's getting 4.5 sacks in Detroit, and somehow they managed to win that game because Detroit, was 1 for 6, and Luke Gedeke spent the next 4 weeks with a concussion on the IL. So that stuff does happen, but this is Tristan, and it's left tackle, and it's the blind side, and Baker can't see a guy win off the line of scrimmage with his back to him. So it's a lot different scenario. There was one moment, maybe a couple reps in practice this week or over the weekend, that and Greg Allman, credit to him for pointing it out from Fox. They had an alignment where, now listen to me now, Ben Bredesen was the center, and the left tackle was one Graham Barton. And Graham Barton played left tackle at Duke.
Yes, he did.
All but his freshman year. They reconverted him to center. Now, I don't think you want to lose Graham Barton at center. I think that communication and trust and how he's evolved and what he has learned from year 1 to year 2 is amazing. I think he's going to be an all-pro center. I really do. However, the goal of any football team I've ever been around, including my son's youth league, is what? When we have injuries, when we have to make some changes, we're going to find a combination. We're going to find a way to what? Put our best 5 offensive linemen on the field. And I'm here to tell you, Bull said, well, that was, in case there was an emergency, we have to have contingencies. Yeah, but you don't always practice those contingencies. You know what I'm saying? You don't always say, let's take a look at this, right? And so I thought that was something to look at and be curious about.
Look, if you're a Bucs fan, you should be thrilled they did that. Like,
sure,
they're looking at all options. Like,
absolutely.
Is basically what you're saying is the backup center better than the backup left tackle?
Right.
And we know the left tackle's missing, so could you move your center there? I don't know if that's the right answer, but until they actually try it, they don't know either.
Right. That's right.
It's been several years since Graham Barton's played left tackle, but he has played it. Mm-hmm. And we know he's a smart offensive lineman. We know he's got skill. So, and he's a better offensive lineman than any of your backups. So, Could he help at left tackle better? The blind side, as you said, now losing your center is tough. But if you can protect your blind side the best for Baker, that may be the best option for the.
Well, and remember, so if Bredesen goes to center, they're going to play Elijah Klein. And Elijah Klein's one of their draft picks that they really, really liked, a year ago. He's also had some reps at tackle, but I don't think they see them as that. So my guess is, and it's just a guess, that Klein would then come in and play guard for Bredesen. So you'd have, again, the goal being, let's get our best 5 offensive linemen on the field together. And if that's not going to be Charlie Heck, then or don't forget this, because you painted it as an emergency situation. Charlie Heck was your swing guy. He was the guy who's going to play either tackle spot if you had an injury. Well, if Charlie Heck's a starter and he gets hurt week 1 or play 1, who's coming in? Who's your next dude? I mean, you got guys working at tackle. I'm not saying you don't have, you couldn't just go with one of the other tackles. But the fact of the matter is it been, Chukwuma, who's a really, really good looking prospect, but I don't know, is it Michael Jordan? Not that Michael Jordan, but the other Michael Jordan, that could play guard, if that's the way you wanted to go. They have some players, they have some people, and I think they're also very high on Jake Majors from Texas as a backup center. But how many new guys do you want on that line of scrimmage, or do you want guys that have been here? Do you want to just get your best 5 linemen? And I'm telling you, from youth league on, they would shuffle that deck. My son played offensive line in youth football, and they would shuffle that deck and make sure their best 5 were on the field. Whoever the next man up was, it wasn't necessarily, a tackle for a tackle or a center for a center. You moved guys around until you had your 5 best guys. So that's not inconceivable. I thought it was good, astute, sort of, pointing out by Greg, and then he asked Bowles about it, and Bowles was like, yeah, you gotta be prepared. You have to practice it. You have to see how it looks. And not for nothing, I think it looked pretty damn good. I mean, Barton's just a great athlete. I mean, Barton is got tremendous feet. He could be I think he's going to be an all-pro center if he stays there. But there's no question in my mind he can't start. He couldn't if some team had seen him as a tackle, I think it's possible he could have started as a tackle in this league. I do. I think he's better suited for a center in the NFL, but I do think that he could have started at tackle. So we'll see. It's been fascinating, been really hot. Oh my God. Every day, just like walking on the sun, hottest summer ever here in Tampa Bay. Those guys are dying out there. But now we at least at the end of the week, you get to, and the cliches are all coming out. Hey, it's going to be great to hit somebody else for a change. What's great is that they don't know what you're calling. What's great is that they can't cheat, because the first 15 plays are scripted and they kind of know what you're doing. You get a better look, a truer picture when you're scrimmaging some other team, and vice versa. They'll give you a good look as well. And then it's after this preseason game 1, then it's on to Pittsburgh, where they'll go up, I think, on Wednesday, and they may have a practice there of their own. And then Thursday they have a joint practice, not in Latrobe where the Steelers are. They're coming back to Pittsburgh. Then they'll have a walkthrough Friday and play Saturday. So, that's 2 weeks with, in addition to preseason games with controlled scrimmages, where you really get a good look at situational football and the kind of players you can use in those situations. So lots going on with the Bucs. They'll resume practice, not today, but tomorrow. And like I said, then it's on to hosting the Tennessee Titans. Hey, one thing you want to do when you're in and around One Buck Place or Raymond James Stadium is go check out Breitling Boutique. They're right down the street at International Plaza Mall. They've been there for about 5 years or so. Of course, the Breitling Company's been in business for over 140 years, making the best Switch watches you could ever find. If you're looking for that timepiece that you will celebrate the rest of your life, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique. The customer service is second to none. They got men's watches, the Navitimers, the Chronomats that they're known for. Women's watches as well for your wife, your girlfriend. These are durable sports watches, just an incredible array of wristbands for her to choose from. And while supplies last, and that's the key, Breitling Boutique is celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 teams and 32 different team watches. These watches are chronomail watches. They're beautiful. They have the color of the team on the face of the watch, logos included, but this is only while supplies last. You got to get down there and see if you can't secure one of these. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Please, when you get there, let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. So I made my first trip to Steinbrenner Field, as a fan. And when I say fan, I wasn't like wearing the colors and clapping and all that stuff. I just went to watch a game, not in the press box. And boy, do I miss the press box.
Especially when it was this hot.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. A beautiful night in terms of, like, we had one of the most amazing sunsets I've ever seen, purple and orange. It was incredible. Way humid. Like, way humid, pretty hot at the start, I will say that. We did get a little bit of a breeze after the game began. The biggest thing was my son, who's not a dumb guy by any chance, but he kind of he ordered the tickets, because the tickets were going along the baselines or around home plate. They were going for almost $300 each. Like, this was the Dodgers coming to town, 10,000 fans, premium tickets. Like, it was up there, man. And I was like, I'm not paying that for a baseball game. However, he got some. He sent me a picture where these are where our seats are. And you know how in left field, really around the whole outfield, there's like a row right behind the wall. And there's even like a little, almost a desk area, but they're folding chairs. You see people sitting there in the folding chairs. So he took a picture. He goes, "This is the view." And I saw the chairs and I went, "Oh, that's fine. I mean, I don't mind sitting. That's kind of cool. Like, we're right on the wall. Who knows? We might catch a home run ball, right? That kind of thing." You could probably, talk to Jake Magnum or whatever. So that's kind of what I assumed, and you should never assume, but I assumed when I saw the picture of a chair there that's what we were talking about. Nah, not so fast, my friend. Those particular seats actually have numbers on them, and they are sold individually, as any other ticket in the stadium is. So we're walking to the outfield, and I said, "Well, we got to go all the way around here to left field." And Wes goes, "Yeah, we're like in section SRO." I went, "What, dude? SRO? You know what that means? That's standing room only, bro. We just paid over $106 to stand for 2.5 hours." Now, this is after I had stood at training camp earlier that morning for 2.5 hours and had gotten up at 5 a.m. to write my Friday story. That's another topic. So I was a little gassed, but my old legs were hanging in there. And we walked around the outfield. And I'll tell you this, man, and you should probably pay to sit in those little folding chairs in front of me. But legit, that is the most intimate ball field I've ever seen with Major League players on it. Like, it is obviously a spring training home, and that is why it only holds 10,000. But, dude, like, when we got there, Clayton Kershaw was playing long toss with his catcher. He was getting ready to warm up. He's getting ready to get in the bullpen. And I could have, thrown a paper cup and hit him. I mean, that's how close he was. Like, you're right on top of the outfield. You're right on top of there's no foul territory in that park to begin with, right? So if you're behind home plate or down the lines, like, you can reach out and touch someone, man. It's incredibly intimate. Just that was so cool because, I'm used to the big triple deck stadiums when you go, even the Trop, was pretty huge. So I thought that was neat. And it was, like I said, it was way hot. We didn't have a seat, so that was tough. And then for whatever reason, that particular night, there was a lot of gnats. I don't know why. Like, is there a gnat problem at Steinbrenner or whatnot? Once the sun went down, that was better. But all in all, would have been great, except for my son, who is a Rays fan, and I'm just kind of watching the game. I usually watch it from that air-conditioned press box, which I now adore, next to Mark Tompkin. But when I do go, however, they were terrible. Like, that night, they got shut out, I think 5-0. And when I say shut out, they didn't come close to scoring a run. They got a couple guys on, I think, in the first and stranded them, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a very what they scored 4 runs all weekend
All weekend, yeah.
against the
And
Dodgers. Granted, a good team,
right.
but they got all 4 runs on Saturday. 3 of those were Yandy Diaz homering off Blake Snell.
Unbelievable. They
Twice.
beat Blake Snell, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Kershaw was so good on
Oh, my
Friday
God.
night.
He's just, he doesn't break 90. He cannot. I don't think he's capable of it. He's around 88, 89. But then he comes in with that 77 mile per hour like changeup, and everything he throws. First of all, he has that weird delivery, right? It's got a little bit of a hump to it, little hesitation there, and then he can locate, and he's got command of all his pitches, and the variance. Like he threw one pitch 77. Well, if your variance is 77 and 89, I mean that's a huge difference. I mean, you talk about screwing up somebody's timing. So he knows how to work hitters, man. He was really good. So that was kind of cool because he's got like damn near 250 wins. So you're looking at a first ballot Hall of Fame pitcher, but the Rays just couldn't do anything with him, and credit to him. And then Yandy was the hero, man. Yandy with a couple oppos to right field. I've never seen a guy. This is true. I've watched baseball a long time. Yandy is so strong and quick with his hands that he can be beat on a fastball, right? Or so it seems. But he will let that thing travel so deep. And then when he barrels it up, man, he's capable of doing exactly what he did, which is hitting two home runs to right field. Probably, not probably, but the shortest part of the ball field because it's got the same sort of measurements as Yankee Stadium. And, he got him up and got him out of there. And it was really cool to see. Like he has such quick hands that even with Blake Snell and the second one, Blake, you could read his lips. He was just like, you got to be bleeping kidding me, man. And he's like, how did he do that twice to me? But that was the only game they won. And now it's off to the West Coast for a very long West Coast trip.
Yeah, 14 days, 12 games, starts in Anaheim tonight.
Yeah.
They're now 5 games out of the wild card, 10 games out of the division lead.
Yeah.
But the 5 games out of the wild card, they have 3 teams to jump over.
That's the issue as much as anything.
Yeah.
But, what would you have to finish this trip? I mean, you'd have to probably win, I don't know, 70% of your games to try to crawl back in it. It's going to be
you're
tough.
3 games below 500, so you've got to
get there.
just to get above 500 on this trip.
Yeah.
That means you got to go, 8-4?
3 over 500, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 8-4 would put you above 500.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough duty, especially with some of the teams they're playing. So, look, this season has a feel of inevitability, and it's not good. Right?
Well,
it's not good.
And now we know Aranda's out for at least a month.
And that might be the worst thing. I mean, that might be the worst thing. The night before we went to see them play the Dodgers, they lost Aranda for, like you said, looks like a month on a bad throw. His wrist got hit by the runner, and that was it. I think Chandler Simpson didn't play, or maybe he played. I can't remember. He got hurt in the same game with his finger, although he's playing now, I suppose.
Yeah, he's available off the bench, as they say.
Is that what they say? Okay.
Yeah.
So he could go in there and pinch run.
But he has not played since that game Thursday.
Yeah, and then Yandy was the other one, but Yandy did come back and then hit the 2 home runs, as you mentioned. So they didn't lose him to the IL. But it's not, it's not good that at a time when you need to win and need to win right away, you're missing some key pieces like that. It's just been such a rough year, such an uneven year. I thought it would inspire them. They're outdoors and they're playing in Tampa and there's a new ballpark and look what they did at the clubhouse and but then that losing 9 out of 11 early at home, then when the schedule flips on you and you're not playing your best baseball and you start losing it, series that are road series, and they're so backloaded. It's just, it's unfair almost that these guys came home for 3 days and got to go back out again. They're going to be some tired guys, but that's the situation they're in right now, and they got to try to punch their way out of it. And there's still time, I guess. They've got to start fast because you're underwater now. You're under 500, which is nowhere where you would have thought they would be, sort of after the month they had, where they had the best record in baseball from like May 20th until all the way through June, I think.
Yep. And now they're like the second worst in the last,
Yeah.
Their record right now is it's amazing how fast they fell off.
Yeah. I mean, they're losing every series. They're losing 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4. Like, it's just really almost intolerable at this point. And there's no way out of it. The cavalry isn't coming. You're going to have to find, you made some deals. You got some players, it's interesting, but I think do we have a Rays question about?
You've got it. You didn't send it to me, but you have it.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
We talked about it before the show, so,
Yeah, that's true. We did. All right, this is from our friend John Garvey. He said, as a Rays fan, I've come to believe Eric Neander's skills as an evaluator and roster builder, but despite the financial pressures, he's become one of the best. I just don't get the Jose Caballero trade. Not only was he valuable to the Rays at his position, versatility, and stolen base proficiency, but by all accounts was a great teammate, certainly from the fans' point of view. And to trade him to the Yankees, of all teams, why help a wild card competitor now? And finally, for whom? A minor league outfielder, a player to be named later? Just sounds like a flat-out giveaway to me. I'd like to know what you both think of this trade. Great must-listen podcast every weekday, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Garb, and I agree with everything you said, especially the last part. All right, so Jose Caballero, among the league leaders in stolen bases, versatility out the wazoo, second, third, short, outfield, which few guys can play and play it well. Obviously a real, valuable player for them. So why deal him, and why deal him now to the Yankees?
Well, I think, why to the Yankees was he gave him the best offer.
Okay.
Position players did not get much in this trade deadline.
No, there wasn't many.
You didn't get much back for, like, Eugenio Suarez, like, Brian Hayes didn't get that much. I mean, none of these guys, pitchers commanded a haul. Position players didn't. Now, I heard Eric Neander was on with T-Kraz on Friday, and he asked him about the Caballero trade. He says, well, first of all, Caballero, great player, great this, lauded him. They like Pereira in the outfield, power-hitting guy, plays good defense, needs to cut down his strikeouts.
But a prospect, not a major leaguer yet, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Then he said the player to be named later is a significant piece.
Interesting.
So the way players to be named later worked out is not, hey, sometime, 3 months from now we'll figure out somebody to send your way. Typically it's, and it could work several ways. I don't know how this one works, but the Yankees may say, we'll give you prospect A, B, or C, your pick. And the Rays may have been like, we haven't decided yet.
Interesting.
We need 30 days to figure out which one we want to take. Maybe we haven't scouted him enough. Maybe there's a medical issue with someone. We really want number A, but he's hurt right now. There's a medical thing. Let's wait and give us 30 days. If you remember when they traded Chris Archer to the Pirates, they got back Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, and a player to be named later.
They stole that deal.
And at the time, Neander said the player to be named later is a significant prospect. It turned out to be Shane Baz.
Yeah, there you go.
Shane Baz was one of, and I don't know how many there were, but it was a couple players the Rays were deciding which one to take. So prospects that the Yankees probably, or at that point the Pirates in that trade.
Yes, fleeced the Pirates.
They had 2 or 3 prospects, and the Rays weren't sure. There was a medical. Who knows what it was? But Neander has said that this prospect in the Caballero trade is a significant piece, which means it's not just a low-level prospect, it's not in your top 30. It's probably, I don't know how good it is, and we'll find out whenever they announce who the player to be named later is. But typically it's either they want some more time scouting, they want to decide, there's a medical issue, there's another issue, whatever it is, where the Rays will have time to decide which player they want, or maybe it's the Yankees get to decide which. The Rays say, hey, we like these two, we want one of these two. I don't know which way this trade is, but so if it's a significant piece, if you look at the future of the Rays, their infield right now is Aranda, Lau,
Kim, if he comes back,
and Caminero.
Yeah.
And Yandy's your DH. And they're all set to come back next year at this point.
Yep.
Based on the options and stuff. Then you got Carson Williams ready to come up.
He's ready to play short, yeah.
Right. And there's another infielder, and you got Taylor Walls, who's your best defensive infielder, as far as utility can play everywhere. There's not a lot of room for Caballero. Now, it's not a knock on Caballero, But if I'm Eric Neander, it was probably, hey, we're getting 2 significant prospects back for him.
Yeah.
We don't know if we have room for him next year. So it's worth trading him. Now, we'll find out if, it works out or not. Who knows? Prospects are only hope. There's no guarantee that they turn into anything. And we'll find out who the second prospect is. But my guess is it was just one of those, hey, we're getting 2 significant prospects back for Caballero, who by next year we may not even have a spot on the roster for.
That's right. No, as you explain it, and I think there is some confusion about a player to be named later, because it almost has this sort of, feeling as if the team that you traded a guy to gets to choose who that player is, when it's really not that at all. So you've explained it pretty well, because it's all, we'll get around to, we'll send you somebody. It's like, there's a great story. I wish I knew his name, but I think Costas told this story one time that there was a guy who was a Hispanic player, and whatever his name was, that once he was traded, actually chose, and this happens sometimes, where a guy will choose, the surname of maybe his mother or grandparents or whatever, and go from, Rodriguez to, Luis or something like that. This guy legitimately, after there was a deal where there was a player to be named later, that he changed his name. So he was legitimately a player that was named later after he was traded. Like, it was Eddie Gonzalez, and then it was like Luis something or other, So anyway, but yeah, look, Neander doesn't make many bad deals, okay? And I think that the important thing, if you're a Rays fan, was he did what the Rays like to do, which is, make good deals for today and tomorrow, right? He wanted to keep this core together to give them a chance to try to reach the postseason. Now, the worst thing that happened over the trade deadline wasn't the deals that they made or didn't make. It was the fact that Jonathan Aranda got hurt, their best hitter. He's their best all-around hitter. He's a guy that, got power, hits for average, all-star, and that throw, that went into the runner and messed up his wrist. We may not see him to September, and by the time you do, this thing will be over. So that was the toughest pill to swallow through all this.
Yeah, no question. I mean, if you had a chance, losing your best hitter, one of your all-stars,
oh my God,
isn't the way to do that. But
no, not at all. Not unless Yandy's going to continue to powder him to right field for home runs every night.
Well, you had Brendan Lau playing first base on Sunday. So
they did, yeah. No, it's a problem. It's an issue, and Yandy's been DHing and rightfully so, and thriving in that situation. Now you got to make him play some position ball. So look, they're not in a good place. I think they think they've improved their bullpen a little bit. I'll say this: their new guys aren't off to as bad a start as what the Yankees did, including Caballero, when they went down and got swept by the Marlins. Goodness gracious! Oh, my goodness gracious!
That first game, all 3 bullpen arms that they traded for gave up multiple runs.
They blew lead after lead, yeah.
Caballero had a bad error in right field.
Yeah, he did.
And the Yankees, who had a 6-0 lead in that game, lost in extra innings, like 13-12.
Incredible.
Not to be outdone by the Rockies, who gave up 9 runs in the first inning to the Pirates and ended up walking off the Pirates 17-16.
Boy, that's a battle of the Titans right there. Pirates, Rockies. Woof.
And it sounded like a playoff game in Colorado, the way that crowd went nuts. There was 35,000 there for that game.
Listen, the thing about Colorado, my son lives there, is that the Rockies can be and have been just nothing, just like flatlining. They were 33 games out of first place after halfway through. But that place is packed, and maybe that's why the owner doesn't feel like they need to do anything to put a good ball club on the field, because it's the place to go. It's one of the most aesthetically beautiful stadiums in all of baseball. Literally the Colorado Rockies, not the baseball team, but the mountains they're named after, are in the outfield. You just, you got a view of it from the stadium, and it's a downtown ballpark. People love going there, socializing, hanging out. It's a little bit like a Western Ho kind of version of Wrigley. Like for years and years, the Cubs stunk, and it didn't matter, because they were going to fill it up. They're going to fill it up and have a Bud man and a Cub fan there with Harry Carey and all that, and it was just a destination, and that's sort of what the Rockies have become. So yeah, that doesn't it's a huge attendance, but it doesn't really shock me either. And all not for nothing, but like since they're in the NL West, if the Dodgers come to town, yeah, a lot of Dodgers fans are there. It's one of those places too. All right, so no Bucks practice today that we will be at. I think they're actually having a little bit of a walkthrough. We'll give you an update on Baker Mayfield. Check out the Tampa Bay Times, tampabay.com. We will be back at practice on Tuesday, however, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday is the joint practice with the Titans, off Friday, and then they play on Saturday. First preseason game is finally here. We've had the Hall of Fame game. That passed. We saw all the guys get inducted. There were 4 of them over the weekend. If you saw any of that, those speeches were pretty cool for the most part. It's a fun time up there in Canton, Ohio. But football is back. Bucs football will be back. And thank God, even though it's preseason, they're playing a game. This is the dog days of training camp right now, when you're hit that second week and you've been in pads now for about 4 or 5 days, and it's starting to get really old. But that's what, that joint practice might break the monotony of hitting the same guys, your teammates, and them cheating and all that stuff. So this will be fun. It'll be fun, and it'll be even more fun, I think, when we go to Pittsburgh the next week and get to see one Aaron Rodgers do his thing with the Steelers, and a joint practice with them up there, not at Latrobe, but in Pittsburgh. So plenty going on. Keep it right here in Sports Day, Tampa Bay. And also go see our friends at Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. They got the beautiful watches there. And while supplies last, the NFL team watches. These are 32 teams, 32 different watches. You're talking about the logo on the Chronomat watches with the team colors. They're absolutely stunning. And also watches for your girlfriend, your wife, sports watches that are durable with a ton of colors she can choose from on the wristband. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you tell them that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I am Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.